Welcome back to MdiPoint, and once again, let us welcome back from Israel. There it is now. We can see him right there. Dr. Ben Carson joins us right here on the show today. Dr. Carson, let's turn to some local issues here, if you will, American issues, even though you are half a world away. The president is going to hold a press conference at 1:30 this afternoon. He is going to address the nation. He will also take questions. Top of the issue will be the North Korean attack. The American government and the FBI has now concluded that the government was responsible for the Sony cyber attack. It is obvious we have been caught flat-footed. We now have so many different facets of the American government that are open to hacking, which could immediately impact every American across the nation. What should the president do in order to strike back against the North Koreans now in what is basically the first strike of a cyber war?
Well, clearly we can't simply ignore this or sweep it under the rug and capitulate to all of their demands, because basically it is censoring our speech, our freedom of speech, and we certainly cannot allow a third party to do that. In terms of what the specific action should be, I would be reluctant to give you a specific action without being able to sit down with experts and advisors and looking at an entire list of possibilities and what the ramifications are.
Well, what's your gut reaction, though, Dr. Carson? What's your gut reaction to all this?
My gut reaction is that this is a non-starter. There's just no way that we should tolerate this. And there has to be very significant reaction to this on our behalf.
With regard then to having significant action and reaction, we're also talking about what is going on in Cuba and the president's plan to bring the Cubans back into the American sphere of diplomatic influence, if you will. Has he made, in your opinion, a critical mistake?
Well, there's no question that there hasn't been a good explanation to what's in it for us, what's in it for the Cuban people. How is it making their lives better? How does it complicate relationships between the United States and Russia, who has a very close relationship with Cuba? You know, these kinds of questions need to be asked, and they should be asked right away. The media should be asking those questions of this administration. And then perhaps we can get some idea of why they would do this. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense.
You still get the feeling then, judging by your comments, that a good number of the media is still soft-pedaling it around Barack Obama and helping him get away with what is now pretty much handcuffs off, and he can do whatever he wants and not get a lot of questions?
Yeah, well, I don't. Of course, I've been in Israel, so I haven't heard everything that they're asking. But, you know, usually they don't ask the tough questions. You know, Raul Castro is 80 years old. How much longer is he going to be there? There will be a regime change before too long. And if we give away all of our bargaining chips, how are we going to change anything in that area?
Dr. Carson, let me ask you then a tough question, because I read from the Jerusalem Post this morning where they called you a likely presidential candidate. Again, it was their words and not yours. And I know that you've said that next year is when you're going to make a decision. But what is it that sets Ben Carson apart from the other potentials in the Republican field to become president of the United States?
Well, I don't want to answer that in reference to what sets me apart, but what I will tell you about me is that I'm somebody who will put the Constitution on the top shelf and not pick and choose which parts of it need to be recognized. We will not pick and choose the people who need to be favored, because everybody needs to be favored. We will not give a lot of credence to special interest groups, except for one special interest group, that's the American people. We will concentrate on how we use business, industry, Wall Street, the private sector, to work with the churches to provide multiple opportunities to invest in our fellow human beings so that we can change a culture of dependency back to the can-do spirit that characterized the rapid rise of this nation. It will be, you know, a high priority to get the economy moving again, to get away some of these unnecessary regulations, and I stress the word unnecessary, to completely reform the tax system, most preferably to a point where we don't even need the IRS, to utilize the riches of our natural resources, particularly energy resources, which can do a lot of good in terms of eliminating or drastically decreasing our national debt, and using our position in the world in a positive and proactive way, rather than just reacting to the various problems around the world as they occur.
All right, we are all out of time. You hit it right there. Let's remind everybody, be sure to get your copy of Dr. Carson's New York Times #1 best-selling book, One Nation, What We Can All Do to Save America's Future. Or go to newsmax.com/Ben to get your free copy. Dr. Carson, we thank you very much for joining us. Have a very safe time in Israel to you and your family, Armstrong as well, and everybody there. A very Merry Christmas.
Always a pleasure. You too.
Take care. Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer joins us after the break. We turn to a major victory for the Kurds and also new brutality from ISIS.